We're back right on the unemployment line. Doc and Larry P. We hard pivot. Can you break down to me the situation that's been going on that went on with Nolan Wells, and for the audience, so that
Nolan Wells, man. I mean, listen, we got to address it. You got to honestly, 2026. This is really what I want to address. 2026 is for black. I think black. Like I said, I think we just know too much at this point. There used to be a point, and maybe it's because I'm getting older. Maybe we're getting older, and maybe we're more aware of the news and all the type of stuff. Or maybe when we was in our 20s, we just didn't care as much. But it just feels like we just know everything. Like 2026 for black people, it just seems like it's a drag, right? You know what I'm saying? Not only do you have what's going on, government wise and everything like that, you still get slapped in the face with racism is this and everything. But then you got people like Carmelo Anthony situation like that. I know the Cyrus Carmack situation happened like a couple of years ago, but like just Rick Chow getting off as a remember this situation, y'all. Once again, now you got Nolan Wells out here, kid. Born and raised in Mississippi at Southwest Mississippi Community College. Played football there. But essentially what happened is, he's out here with his friends. The state of Mississippi is 55% white, 37% black. So that is the highest percentage of black population.
No, that's what I was like, is that
yeah, that is Mississippi has the highest percentage of black population. So it's not like black people do not exist in Mississippi. But at the end of the day, Nolan Wells with his friends out here, he did this often, based on what his mom and dad say about him. He was just a kid that just loved being around people, and he didn't see color. So I could see that happening. But essentially they say that altercations broke out. There's videos of maybe Nolan allegedly arguing with his friends and everything, saying give me my phone back, XYZ. There's really no clear indication of what happened. But what we do know is Nolan was found dead on the beach that everybody was at. His friends give the story that he met a girl out there. He said that he was going to stay with that girl, so they went back without him. The girl that he was talking to says that he told her that he was going back to his friends after he left her. So she was like, he wasn't supposed to stay with me, and she left. She's more than willing to cooperate with the police right now. So I don't know where that investigation is going on that side. But at the end of the day, the phone of Nolan Wells ended up back with his parents. That's where the whole big thing is about it. Like, even if he ended up winding up dead on the beach, how did his phone not stay with him, even though they don't have a reception and coverage? People are trying to make whatever theories they have that, the phone stayed on the boat. And then when they got back after leaving, then they was like, oh, shoot, we got his phone. So we took his phone to his parents. Now that's another thing, because they did not take the phone back to the parents. The parents had to find the phone with Life 360, and they realized, because usually when he go out to the beach, Nolan goes out to the beach, they ain't got no signal out there. So usually when he gets back, he'll touch base with his mom and dad. He'll be like, hey, I'm back. They didn't get no touch base back. So eventually they start looking at Life 360, like, where's our kid? But they see his phone moving on land, basically moving around, and they're like, well, he must be back on land. So the friend of the mom, she ended up having to go to where the phone was showing its location just to get the phone back. So that's just another speculation in the whole situation, where everybody is like, they took the phone back. He left his phone with his friends. They trying to basically say the kid could actually drown, and all the black people are saying it's coming up fishy. So Ben Crump has jumped in the situation. They have retained Ben Crump as a lawyer. They flew Nolan Wells out to DC to do a private autopsy.
Push pause. Shout out to Ben Crump. I hadn't heard his name come up.
Yeah,
in a while.
Ben Crump is out here.
So I see our
but yeah,
our nation's black attorney is always on it.
Yeah, Ben Crump is on it. Carmelo Anthony, since we did bring up Carmelo Anthony, he did also get a new defense. and they are filing an appeal. So we don't know where that's about to go, but it looks like he's got to, because he had a public defender before, but now he has a defense. I don't know if that changes the situation, but he at least has somebody else that'll kind of fight on his behalf at this point. So
in both of these situations, let me just go ahead and put out there, like, I'm no legal expert, I'm no legal scholar, I'm no attorney. And I think I say that not to make a grander point, but to say a lot of y'all ain't either. So, like, one of my challenges with, like, trying to get news, especially specifically through social media, is y'all will talk about things as if you are, like, well informed, and you're not well informed.
Not at all.
Like let's find out what happened. Or if you're talking about, just talk about what happened. Don't talk about it from the perspective of, well, I can't believe, well, really, they should have charged him with manslaughter. If anything, you don't know that.
Right now, they have like a lot of speculation, and like a lot of people from the white community are saying, like, he drowned. And I love the fact that everybody's saying he drowned, because guess what? Like I said, they flew Nolan out to DC to have a private personal autopsy under like Ben Crump and his legal team. But the coroner in Mississippi did their autopsy. They don't even have the results back from their autopsy. So how does anybody know that the kid drowned? Like, nobody knows if it's strangulation. Nobody knows what it is, but everybody has these speculations out here like, hey, the kid drowned. That's what happened. But then my whole thing about the whole situation is bump the phone, right? Bump the phone. Like, how y'all found the phone? The phone is one big thing, because everybody's like, kids don't leave their phone. How did y'all end up with this phone? I'm like, all right, cool. Maybe that was an honest mistake. Maybe I was on the boat. I don't have a signal out here. I left my phone on the boat because the phone is no use to me out here on the beach in the water. So let me leave my phone on the boat. I can see that, right? My thing is, somebody died, right?
That's the most important thing.
Regardless of what happened, right? If these are my so-called friends that are here with me, right? Even if these are my so-called friends that I went out with, and they're like, oh, well, we'll take his phone to his mom and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Why don't if these are my friends, if I'm with you on the boat, you meet a young lady out there, whoop-de-whoop, we say, cool, I don't know, maybe we've been drinking, we head off, Doc good, he with that girl, leave, right? Oh, shoot, we got a Doc phone. Take your phone. Let's take your phone to the mom and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Or, well, you know what? Yeah, let's take it to his mom, because I don't know. I don't know where he's at. He probably with the girl. He'll come back home eventually, right? Cool, bet. When it shows up that, hey, you know what? I haven't heard from Doc in a while. Hey, man, let's take the boat back out and go back out there. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm doing. Like, I'm not waiting for somebody. I'm not going to the cop. Like, we got out there one way, right? We got out there with my boat. Let's go out there with the boat. Another part to the story is one of the kids that were with Nolan, his quote unquote friends, he's the son of a judge. All of their friends done lawyered up at this point. Everybody.
Well, because it looks suspicious.
I mean, it looks suspicious because it is suspicious.
Which goes into the other point, that a big reason why we even bring this up is, like, for those of you who are not familiar with the story, you piece two and two together. Nolan Wells was a black man, and pretty much everybody else involved in the situation is white,
Caucasian. Yes.
So, like, the response overwhelmingly from the black community was, "See, that's why y'all need to be hanging out with them white people." Like, that's what that. Am I wrong?
So they look at it as, don't hang out with that side because, things bad happen. Like I said, I'm not going to hold that much weight to that, because at this point, Nolan was born and raised in Mississippi.
And I'm not going to hold that much weight to that.
But I will agree.
But they also use other situations as evidence to support their opinion.
But let's talk about the state of Mississippi to even begin with, because last year in September 2025, on the campus of Delta State University, they found a black kid hanging from a tree. They ruled that as a suicide, but his family saying it's not a suicide, because like he had bruises and everything on his body as if something happened. That is just like the 8th or 9th black person that's been found hanging in the state of Mississippi since 2000.
I think I've only driven through there I don't think I've ever like stayed in there for any significant amount of time.
Every
And so I don't want to cast any aspersions. I don't know which word I'm looking for. Dispersions on these people. But I can tell you, if you Google Mississippi, you'll probably get down to, at worst, the third or fourth link before something involving racism comes up.
Mississippi was the number one state, or still is the number one state that had the most lynches in the U.S. when lynching was a thing. So I mean, Mississippi ain't the best place to be. Let me put it to you this way: that kid found hanging from that tree happened the same week that Charlie Kirk died. Was it done in retaliation? I don't know. Does Charlie Kirk get shot and then they say we gotta go hang a black? So you hang a black out there. Every hanger since 2000 of a black man in the state of Mississippi has been ruled a suicide. Now at the same time, that kid found last year was hanging from a tree about 100 miles south of going to school where they found the kid hanging. They found a white man hanging from a tree. I don't know if people just hanging each other from trees in Mississippi if they got the strongest trees in America, but apparently hanging is a thing. Does it all look suspicious? Yeah. Because for me, it's like 1,000,001 ways to kill yourself. If you black, I think hanging ourselves from a tree is probably one of the last. I don't care how closer to the white side. I don't even care how white you may think you are, bro.
But you're probably not in the mental state to I mean,
that ain't the.
But it do look suspicious.
We do tell I feel like every black person will run through their head and be like, you know what, man, I'm about to just off myself. I don't think anybody ever crosses their mind like it's a nice tree out there. Like if they hang themselves from inside their house before they do a tree.
Here's my thing. I don't know what to do to combat the race problem. And I won't even say in this country, because I think a lot of it is more intense in the southern states. I know there is racism in other places in the country, but I feel like it's more like we speak openly about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like people say things like very clearly, like, don't you be over there hanging with them. And as we've learned, both sides are saying things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey man, you gotta understand how it look. You gotta understand what might happen. You gotta understand what might come of this. Larry sent me a clip that has now been deleted. I don't know who the guys were, but they were just talking about how there was a couple of white guys talking about like, listen, we don't have necessarily have issues with black people, but we have to warn our kids, like, listen, if y'all only got like one black friend and something happened, they're gonna look at y'all and be like,
be careful hanging around those black friends of yours, because Lord knows we don't want anything to happen to that black friend while you're around, because then you're going to get tied up into that negativity. So just be careful hanging around your black friends. You see, that sounds crazy, right?
And I think the caution that everyone exercises in even talking about it makes it difficult to actually address the issue. The issue is stuff be happening. There are people racially motivated that have done things to harm black people. Like, that has happened. We can't act like it didn't happen. And the more we act like it didn't happen, the more people who like probably didn't do anything wrong feel uncomfortable. It's just like, I can't even hang with him because what did it look like?
So this is the one thing I will say though about the entire situation. I know it looks bad on both ends, right? But at the same time,
somebody did something.
At the same time, it looks bad, but I can't even deem it as 100% racial motivation, right?
Well, we don't know. We don't know all the facts.
But at the same time, even if it does turn out that, like, something happened between him and his friends end up killing them, it's like, cool. I can see like where the tension, like, yeah, they devalue you as a person, but at the same time, I just find it as just one of those situations where, like, be careful who you call your friends more than it is like stop hanging around like those people. Like, be careful who you call friends. Be careful who you put trust in. And I think that's the whole thing as well with Nolan Wells' mom and dad. Like, their biggest pain is that they like his heart was so big that they felt that his heart would be the death of him at the end of the day. Like, he loved people so much that he didn't see the evil in them. And I think that itself is more so of a lesson as well. Like, yeah, stay, like, don't be the only, like, yeah, it should be like at this point a whole buddy system. We need to be moving around like Glory Road. You know what I mean? Don't go to the bathroom by yourself, Chet. You might get beat up. But at the end of the day, I also think it boils down to, watching out who your friends are, because we can look at the situation where like the black girl went down there with her friends to Mexico and her friends came back and she
This
did
was
not
an
come
example
back.
that was brought up.
You know what I mean? So my thing about it is like, yes, it may be some racial motivation to it, and yeah, maybe they do devalue you as a person and they feel like they could just off you and hide your body, especially in the state of Mississippi. But at the same time, you should also be cautious of who you call yourself being friends and putting your trust in. Would I find myself on a boat with a bunch of people that I feel like may or may not have my back in the middle of nowhere?
And I don't know much about the young man, but I don't think I would like to believe that he thought he was in a safe situation.
For sure. I mean, that's not his first time going out there.
Yeah, and probably didn't realize it was an unsafe situation until it was too late.
This is not nothing new. This is not like the first time he's done something like that. Like they say, like he's always going out there to the beach with them, and you always come back. It's just that one time that you go out there, alcohol's involved, everything. That's why I say I can't even blame it down to racial motivation.
There's
because
all these other factors.
It's other factors that may play a role where like, oh shoot, man, I thought I was just fighting my friend. I dropped him on his neck. He dead. What do we do? Throw him in the water. Now, granted, do I feel somebody killed the boy? For sure. Racial motivation? I don't know. Devalued as a person? Psychologically? Society? You got to think hereditarily, mentally, all that stuff can be passed down. So somewhere, as much as the white people say they're not racist, mentally in their mind, if they had like a racist grandfather or something like that, that brain hereditary, it has been passed down through the DNA where something in that brain still looks at you as like what, like 3/4 of a person or whatever.
It was 3/5, which is crazy. Which is crazy because like we not as a country aren't that good at math. So the fact that they went with a fraction has always been wild to me.
They wouldn't even know if it's a fifth or not. What's a third of a fifth? I don't know, but that'd be
like, how did they even come up with that number? Like half was right there.
Yeah,
half was right there.
It had to be less than half,
and they was just more than half. See, that's how I know we're not good at math.
Ooh.
3/5 is more than half.
I thought they just took out more halves out. They took out more percentages. They just made a lower percentage though, right?
No, 3/5, 60%.
3/5 is 60%.
Yes.
So then 50% was half. So
yes.
Oh wow.
When we come back, we got some more wow. It's the Unemployment Line.